against us, aren't you? Well, joining me now with his intel on it is the founder and president of the American Islamic Forum for Democracy, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser. And Dr. Jasser, I find it troubling that everybody's worried about everyone's feelings out there. And I frankly think it's insulting to Muslims to suggest that if we're not careful, they're all going to side with ISIS. But you're a Muslim. What's your response to that?
I think you're right. It's not only insulting, it's as if we can't get it, or that somehow this problem is so simple. And what's happening is the politicians, especially on the left, are exploiting this for the identity politic and just doing the one-upsmanship on partisan politics, and when in fact the solution is complicated. And we can do both. We can declare war on the ideology, the political ideology of this fascism, this radicalism that's attacking us, which I call Islamism, which is a theocratic ideology, something very American. From our founding fathers, we fought theocracy, so we can do this. And Muslims can be part of the solution. But we're not talking about just running patrols in neighborhoods. We're talking about engaging and monitoring. Imagine, Trish, a Muslim business that's selling books like the Protocols and the Elders of Zion, a viciously anti-Semitic text, and yet police can't monitor that. It's sort of like not drug violence and police saying, well, we can't monitor where drugs are used or heavy use neighborhoods. I mean,
Dr.
that's absurd.
Jasser, stay with me. Don't go anywhere. I want to continue this conversation because I think that this has become a political movement. It's no longer religious. Dr. Jasser is going to be back. See here. Dr. Zuhdi Jasser is back with me, and we were talking about the need, the importance of the Muslim community coming together to fight this extremism, and also, Doctor, recognizing that, you know, part of what the intelligence community has to do is zero in on the threats where they are, and we shouldn't feel afraid to do so. I mean, what do you hear from your community? And I want to just also point out to our viewers that you get a lot of hate on Twitter. I know, because I've been CC'd on some of this, that people are directing at you, including many from the Muslim community.
Well, there are folks that are in denial, or the hate we get is from people that want to dismiss that this is an ideology and they're part of the Islamist movement that believe in Islamic states. Remember, this movement is not just ISIS. That's the tip of the iceberg. This is an ideology that believes in Islamic law in countries like Egypt, Iran, Saudi Arabia. So there's going to be a lot of pushback when America finally gets this. But it insults our intelligence to believe that Muslims can't figure out the difference between theocrats and spiritual Muslims. The police commissioner, Bratton, when he came out this weekend and said, oh, the police should not be in the business of ideology, I guess he forgets Commissioner Kelly before, who put out a report from the NYPD that talked about radicalization as being a staged process over years from identification to jihadization. Bratton renders us completely useless if we don't engage the fact that there is a process of radicalization, and we want to embrace police to help us follow that.
Why is there this
look
resistance,
at the public spaces.
I mean, you're out there and you're trying to convince other Muslims to partake in what you're talking about, but there's a resistance. And why do you think that is?
Because there's denial, there's fear, and because we've had no leadership from our politicians, media, universities that really want to just sort of close their eyes and be blind to the deep reforms necessary and just want to use this for the identity politics and say Muslims are a minority. Forget the fact that globally it's a quarter of the world's population that's going through this time in history of a need to push back against theocracy. Forget that. They don't want to deal with the substance abuse, which is political Islam. They just want to deal with the last step and do postmortems or pre-mortems, and that's a whack-a-mole program that's going to continue to fail.
Dr. Jasser, thank you so much. I'm going to be right back.
Anytime.
Thank you.